Advocate Ms. V Mohana.
Supreme Court, High Court, and various other fora. She was designated as a senior in 2015 by a full court of the Supreme Court, and she has been a part of several eminent cases and judgments. She's also part of the hijab ban case, among many others. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravina.
To start with, ma'am, I wanted to find out how you decided upon a career in litigation and not following a general solicitor corporate practice.
See, to give you this answer, I need to give you a little background also, if that is all right. See, I belong to a big family where my parents wanted that, especially my mother, wanted that their one child should be a lawyer at least, because there were no lawyers. So I am coming from Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. And those days we were not exposed to so much of corporate litigation or anything. What we have seen is a little bit of what we hear from our neighborhood and also what we saw in the movies about law. But my mother, she was a firm believer that Mohana can take up law and she has to do law. So based on her, motivation and her persuasion only, to be honest, that I chose this, though my father wanted me to be a doctor. But I also had one part of me wanted to be a doctor as well. But I think when I finished the higher secondary, that was called now, some places they call it pre-degree. Some in Tamil Nadu, not after 10th standard, it's 11th and 12th, it's higher secondary. So when I finished that, fortunately for me, there was a 5-year law course which got introduced in Tamil Nadu, all over India, first time in Tamil Nadu. So that first batch is 83, 88. That's when my mother also said, see, God has decided that you should do law. So this course has been introduced. You don't have to do any degree and then do law. I mean, she was so, though she's not educated in that sense. She's not gone to a school properly, but she's learned on her own to read and write. And then she used to read newspaper. She's a voracious reader and all. So she told me that this is a course so you must try and take it up. So that was a challenge. So I took it up and fortunately I got an admission. So that's when I took up law. But when we finished, that was the first batch of 5 year and we were exposed to only the district courts in Coimbatore. So I was interning in an office in a civil court. So completely a civil practice. So therefore, I got really carried away by the way my senior, Mr. M. Panchapakeshan, who is a veteran and he's a legend. So under him, I was getting trained. So therefore, I really loved the way the litigation proceeded. So I decided this is my field after joining him only. It was a great inspiration and an exposure to the district bar, Coimbatore. It's a very rich bar, actually. So my exposure to those who were opposing my senior and where other senior counsel were also practicing, in the sense senior, in the sense not the designated senior, but they were all senior in practice and excellent learning experience for me. So that's what forced me to take up litigation. It's quite a long answer, Ravina, for your question.
It's such an inspiring story, actually. My next question was about your early days in your career. Is there any one incident or standout moment that you can think of, where you felt that you're going in the right path? Maybe encouragement from your senior or appreciation from the bench or anything like that?
Yeah, when I was in the district court, in fact, we were given a free hand. Every day there was civil trial, and we used to help seniors. Not at times we used to, and it was those days in 88, and thereafter was not many women especially in the district bar in Tamil Nadu and all. So we were far and few. Now there are a lot of them. So that point of time when one of them chose to give me a suit, which was actually a bare injunction suit. So when I went, we have to move those days, 2 o'clock emergence petitions, they are called. And we call in Supreme Court, we call it 10:30 mentioning. These are all matters we get it overnight, prepare it and file it in the morning and get the bench clerk or what you call the registrar or the registrar will be Sheristadar here, and the bench clerk is called the court master now in the Supreme Court. So they are called bench clerks. So we need to get their attention and get it listed at 2 o'clock. If it deserves the urgent mentioning, they are called emergent petitions. That's when I was moving this case, there was a very big, very well-respected senior who came on caveat in that matter, and I just didn't give in. So, in fact, to the point of them getting annoyed, I pushed it so much that the court had no other option but to give me the interim injunction, which I was hoping for. I think I was so desperate to get that order to prove my identity that though I am a junior practicing there, to get my identity, that to say that I am there, Mohana can also be trusted. So I think that was what forced me to get that order. From that day, in fact, even that senior came to my side after the case got over and appreciated me. And it's so, I mean, it was such an overwhelming experience for me. Also, when I shifted to Delhi, in 92, I shifted to Delhi and I started practicing there. That I'll tell you separately, but I joined Miss Justice Sindhu Malhotra, as she then was. She was then a standing counsel for the state of Haryana. No? One of those important matters where 2-3 senior advocates were briefed by us. And none of them turned. We were caveators. And the petitioner's side, about 4-5 seniors were appearing. That was new in 92 when I had just shifted. And Justice Kuldeep Singh, I remember the presiding judge. So I kept saying, kindly pass it over. None of my seniors are present here. They were moving it. It was a very prestigious case. It's also from Tamil Nadu. I remember that it's a case from Tamil Nadu. It's a milk federation case that was service matter. So the other side was pushing for a stay also. I was, top of my voice saying that my seniors are not here. I was new in Delhi also. Then the court said, no, there is no, those days there is no concept of passover for caveators. So they said, no, I'm so sorry, young lady, we can't give a passover. Then I just kept quiet and I decided, oh, it's, probably we'll have to oppose it rather than saying that get a passover. Then all of them had put up their case and it was, finally I had to put my foot down and then argued the entire case as a caveator, and the judge said, I will issue notice, but no stay for you. So there we avoided the stay order. And then when I stopped, finished it and came out, I saw both the seniors. I won't want to say their names, but they were both standing there. And then I said, sir, you didn't come inside. He said, no, we saw you fighting. We thought it was good to see you fighting. So I think you got a very good order in the circumstances and nobody could have avoided a stay anyway, but you put the case very well. So it was a great moment in my life. And I thought it was, all the clients were present and they were very impressed and they really wanted to thank me personally and gave me a gift and all this. So that these are 2 things which I can never forget in my life. So that, there are many other thereafter. Madam Induji had given me a lot of opportunities. And so that thereafter I found a lot of, inspiration and went ahead after that. Yeah.
How was it, ma'am, after you were designated as a senior, what changes did you notice in terms of the way your practice shifted and even approach of people towards you shifted?
Yeah. Actually, when we were advocates on record, I thought our responsibility, though it is not completely correct, I think I was under the some impression that when you brief a senior counsel, thereafter your responsibility is actually lesser than it should be, because the entire responsibility is shifted to a senior advocate. But when I became a senior advocate, I realized the entire, the burden of the case to answer or to guide the clients properly. Sometimes when you reach that, when the case reaches Supreme Court, only you realize that there's a lot more that could have been done in the pleadings or in terms of getting reliefs in other forums or anything. So that kind of wholesome advice, sometimes a senior advocate is bound to give, or, in terms of how to put forth a case in the best manner possible for the client. Being an advocate on record is fine, but when I became senior advocate only, I realized it's a lot more responsibility. So the level of preparation should not stop within the 4 corners of the brief. It should go much beyond, and especially standing on your feet, you need to think many times, so that exposure and experience matters a lot is what I realized. So we needed to read extra bit. Even though the case concerns particular provisions, you need to read the connected, getting an overall view of the litigation in that matter as such, and what could have been argued, everything. So I think the responsibility is more when you become a senior advocate, and also you should be able to get at least, if not the best of the relief that you should plan well ahead and then realize what best in the end of the case that you should get. That kind of planning is required. And of course, all the friends who were earlier, friends and colleagues at the bar, there in front of them, your image actually really gets a little better, because they also realize, firstly, it's thanks to the Supreme Court, the full court, which designated me. Then they all start thinking that yes, this is a very serious thing, that the entire court should decide that a particular person should be designated as a senior advocate. So that itself reposes a huge confidence, especially for women. When it's such a huge men-dominated profession here, and now only women are coming forward, and there are a lot of them now. We can see almost, I think, not at par, but at least 50% they've now increased in numbers. So therefore, to give them, it gives a lot of inspiration. And the litigants start thinking in terms of, yeah, we can engage her. Like earlier, it was like only the choice, the first choice and the last choice was also men. But now, as an advocate on record also, the people who were not actually looking up suddenly looked up and said, oh my God, how did we miss this? I mean, there is somebody who can do our case better now. Even the Supreme Court thinks that way. So therefore, there is a point that we should brief her. She's good. And though we have heard, now we can repose so much faith in them. There are a lot of cases, there may be small cases as advocate on record, which we would have thought we can do it ourselves. But the clients may not trust you as a woman to entrust you to argue the case yourself, whether you'll be able to do it. But when you become a senior advocate, then I think it gives you an edge. And also, there is a respect from the bar and from the bench to that extent that they expect that a person will not say anything nonsense. They are prepared. They will do, to the best of their ability. So this person who has been designated will have something to say in the brief. There is a respect which is there, entire community and outside as well. Yeah.
Thank you. That's so important to point out that, especially as women, that type of recognition goes such a long way, and especially
Yes.
from the forum before we practice. I wanted
Yes.
to now ask you if there's any case particularly that you've done as a senior or even as an AOR, which is very close to your heart and that you thought made a personal impact on you.
Yeah. See, I was a completely civil lawyer in the beginning, but after moving to Delhi, after joining Justice Indu Malhotra, who was, as I told you, an advocate on record, I had learned about even criminal law cases, and we have done quite a few criminal matters because she was standing counsel for state, so we did quite a few criminal matters. So I learned that practice as well, and I started reading on that criminal law angle as well separately. Then when I became an advocate on record, I had this one particular case, which was a very sensational murder case in Coimbatore. So which I read in the newspapers and discussed with my mother and all when I came for vacations. Never expected that it will reach me at some point in Delhi as an advocate on record. There were about 11 accused in that matter. A1 to A8 were all conspirators and leading accused and all that. But this 9 to 11 were the real assailants. So this is reported judgment of the Supreme Court, I'll tell you. So what happened in this case when it reached, then I had filed only for 3 accused. They were the last of them, A9 to A11, and actual assailants against whom there were eyewitnesses, whereas for the conspiracy and other angles, there was not many witnesses. In the sense, witnesses were there, the proof could not have been made. So in that, when we prepared the SLP, we read every witness, every deposition, and then while making the grounds, it was a wholesome SLP. We didn't confine it to A9 to A11 because unless you, from the beginning, you attack the way the prosecution has proceeded, you can't make out a case for yourself. So we had prepared it and I had filed it and leave had been granted. So for the first accused to the 8th accused, there were 2-3 different senior counsel engaged. As far as 9 to 11 were concerned, they were not very rich or something. They had just asked the advocate on record to argue the matter. So they had asked me to argue. So, but suddenly it was about low down in the regular matters. Those days were regulars, like presently they are trying to introduce the regular concept like Chief Justice, the earlier Chief Justice has introduced so that the regular matters should come up in the board. So those days were like that. We were doing regular matters on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. Monday, Fridays were admission days, and after notice were also there. So one of those days, though it was low down, I think due to some reason, it reached all on a sudden. And A1 to A8, the lawyers, though 1 or 2 advocates on record were present, but they were not ready. And their seniors were to argue. So they told the court, please adjourn this matter. it was a concurrent conviction. We were all up in appeal. So the court said nothing. Then I also said I am in the last appeal, so I can be heard only. Although I said I didn't want an adjournment, but I didn't say anything. I said I am in the last of the appeals. Justice Sipurkar was leading the bench. He said, Mohana, I think you can start. I said, sir, mine is the last appeal. So, because heart of hearts, I knew they all had the best of their cases, and mine was the very bad case because there were eyewitnesses. It was a daylight murder in the center of Coimbatore. So there were witnesses. So I said, mine is last. He said, it's all right. You can start. It started, and he told me to argue for every accused because unless you know the case, you wouldn't have filed it for 9/11, he told me. It went on for 5 weeks, Ravina. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It went on and on and on like that. And it was a great, enriching experience. And Justice Sipurkar and Justice C.F. Joseph were there. It is a reported case, John Pondian and others versus State of Tamil Nadu. It's a fantastic experience. He made me prepare at every nook and corner of the case. Every day evening, I would go back with some homework. And it was such a brilliant hearing that I got. I learned. I can never forget this in my life because it was a criminal matter, 302. And I must tell you, the result was A1 to A8 got acquitted, A9 to A11 got convicted. But I felt so satisfied. At the end of the hearing, Mr. Napade, who was appearing for one of the accused in that case, came. Because after the case started, after some time, they all started coming. But they never stopped me from arguing. The court said, since you have started, you must finish it. So it was argued almost for everybody. And till date, Mr. Shekhar Napade keeps talking to me about the case and his appreciation, which is every day inspiring me and motivating me. The moment I think of that, it's very nice. And I was thinking about my senior in Coimbatore, what he would have thought that I've argued a 302 matter. He would say, Mohana, what did you do? Because I have learned only CPC and other civil provisions and civil practice from him. So therefore, it was such a challenge. And I had to prove to my senior also that I can do it better in criminal law as well. So he's still here. And whenever I go to Coimbatore, I make it a point to, go and take his blessings. Every day, morning, I pray with my parents and my senior as well before I go to court. I mean, it's because of them I'm here. And so I feel that whatever I've learned, it's all now, and with the good wishes of all of the people who are around me, I was able to learn so much on Justice Sindhu Malhotra, and after that, Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan, under whom I worked for nearly 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, till I became an advocate on record. So I think I've learned all this from them. So that was a very important turning point. After that also, there were a lot of civil matters also. And I can remember this one as the first one.
No, this is such an inspiring and beautiful story where the bench has given you that opportunity and the other counsels are not standing in your way. So that speaks volumes more than anything else. And for your last words in terms of any words of wisdom for younger female members at the bar, and any words of advice in terms of their careers and how they should look forward to, reaching hopefully a great position like yourself in the future.
Yeah. Not only to my level, they should reach greater heights. I feel given the kind of infrastructure and the exposure that the present generation has, sky is the limit. Especially women. The terms, I think in every front, they've got exposure now, and there is cooperation. The mindset has now started changing to a great extent. Men have changed. I think the women in our families and in the public life also, who were having earlier a different kind of outlook towards girls, and their exposure has also changed. Mindset has changed. I say there is so much work out there. There is the dearth of good lawyers, especially if women, if they focus and if they want to succeed, there is nothing that they can stop you. Because I have found that girls and women can be more determinative and focused, and more, in their career. And whatever they take up in that sense, they excel if they decide to do that. So I feel when you take up a case or something, young girls should not feel that what will others think of me, or whether I can take up this, whether will I be able to compete with this kind of people, whether this atmosphere will be conducive. All that feeling should be kept beside, and you should stay focused in the litigation, and you must think what best you can give for each and every client without, when you are going and presenting yourself in a courtroom, that also matters, that how you present yourself physically and also mentally. You should be attracting only due to your eminence in the matter that you are going to argue, and not get distracted by who is appearing on your other side, or who is looking at you or commenting. So it matters a lot, because as women we feel that what will the others think if we raise our voice, what will the others think if we are not prepared well, because the other side is represented by a very big senior or something. You don't have to worry about that. If you're very well prepared, you earn automatic respect from the bench. And in the present day, I think there is a lot of encouragement. And in terms of research, you should always be prepared. I think there is a lot of scope for improvement for women. So young girls, this is one of the field which I find, I tell all my relatives also, more than any other profession, this is a profession where you can stay balanced and give the best to both sides, family as well as the profession. Because as you know, the courts also have frequent vacations. There where we are practicing now, they have more vacations. That gives you time to prepare very well. And at the same time, the working hours can be, once you prepare very hard and reach a particular level, after 10 years of your initial hard work, if you reach a particular level, you can get time for both. You can plan your life very well when you get a child also. That is what I tell the youngsters when they get scared about getting a child or anything. There's nothing to worry about. There is, and present day men also equally contribute. So therefore, you should never worry about your family life, balancing or anything, because this profession gives you adequate time to balance everything. And I think it's the best for women. This profession is the best, according to me. Because I've seen I told you in the beginning that we are a very big family, and we have I'm one among 13 children. I'm the 11th. So I have seen other professions, and we are 9 daughters and 4 brothers. I've seen other girls in our family and boys also excel. But I think this profession, the way this has given edge over the others in terms of spending time with relatives or looking up and getting a more respect or recognition equally, So therefore, they also feel that, yes, after me, so many people in our immediate family and outside also have taken up law, and that I feel very proud about, because if you can emulate somebody else, to do a law, that is at least you have done justice to something that my mother had dreamed of. So therefore, I think this is the best profession, and I always thank my mother for this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and taking the time out to speak to us. It would be a mistake to not point out that if anybody does go to the Supreme Court, it is very hard to miss ma'am's smile and her walking past, in all exuding so much positivity across the corridors in the Supreme Court. So thank you, ma'am, for your contribution to the bar and to this interview and inspiring words to us.
Thank you, Ravina. Thanks for this opportunity. I have not done much, but I think I've been very gifted to have great parents and mentors and friends, well-wishers in terms of lawyers and in terms of judges, everybody. So therefore, I think I'm very thankful, and I'll ever remain grateful to all of them. And thank you for this also. I think this generation, you and your friends, can go a longer way than all of us have traveled. All the best.